just hours from now when former President Donald Trump's New York hush money trial.
Former publisher of the National Enquirer, David Pecker, will reportedly be the first witness to take the stand. Others could include adult film star Stormy Daniels, former Playboy model Karen McDougal, and former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, among others. Here we go. You're watching Fox and Friends First here on a Monday morning. I'm Todd Pyron.
And I'm Carly Shimkus. 12 jurors and 6 alternates are now ready to hear this criminal case after a long and tedious selection process. Brooke Singman is here with all the details. Good morning, Brooke.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, court will begin this morning at 9:30 Eastern. But before opening statements begin, this judge is expected to rule on what prosecutors can bring up from Trump's previous court cases if he testifies in his own defense at this trial. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is looking to cross-examine the former president about the judgment and gag order in his New York civil fraud trial. Prosecutors also want to bring up the verdicts from the 2 E. Jean Carroll cases. Now, once the judge decides on that, the prosecution will formally introduce its case to the jury. The New York Times is reporting that the first witness in the case will be former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker. Now, he admitted to running a so-called catch-and-kill scheme to bury negative stories about Trump ahead of the 2016 election. According to the Times, Pecker is expected to recount for the jury several conversations he had with Mr. Trump, allegedly about the hush money. Pecker's company paid $150,000 to Playboy model Karen McDougal, who claimed to have had an affair with Trump around the same time as adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Now, Trump former lawyer Michael Cohen is the one who made those payments to Daniels. He'll also be a key witness in the case. But in order to get a conviction, the prosecution must prove that Trump was directly involved in the alleged cover-up. But his attorneys say the facts are on his side. Listen.
We believe the facts are absolutely on our side, that they're absolutely exonerative of the president. And as long as the jury focuses on the facts, as long as the jury can see through all the media coverage and all the sensationalism and focus on the actual facts at issue in this case, we believe we have a winning case.
And the former president insists there is no case, saying, quote, virtually every legal scholar and expert says there is no case, no crime, no nothing. It is a sham that should have never been brought. The final jurors in the trial were seated on Friday, and former President Trump attempted to delay the trial over claims that jury selection was rushed, but he was denied. Trial is expected to wrap up by 2 p.m. today to accommodate Passover.
Upstate, I used to guess horse sizes at a county fair, and that one is a big.
Okay, it's like, all right, that's a good one back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I gotta tell you, it's good to be like literally alive here in the seat, but barely. Today is Monday, April 22nd, 2024. We've missed you. We missed you. Did you miss us? We missed you. We've been offline for 4 days because we were in the hell hole, criminal, third world hellscape of California, and we'll tell you all about it. Trump opening statements in his hush money trial happening right now. We will bring you all of the information. Congress waves Ukrainian flags because they're all traitors and maybe should all be put in jail. Biden whistleblower Mike McCormick joins the show to tell us all about what Donald Trump did in Ukraine. He literally went to Ukraine with Joe Biden. Correction, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump was trying to fix Ukraine. Donald Trump wants peace in Ukraine. We want peace in Ukraine. But the bloodthirsty monsters that run our government want war, and we'll talk all about it and the betrayal. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Ladies and gentlemen, we were in San Francisco, in the general Bay Area, a place even worse than San Francisco, a place called Oakland. Luckily, when we had to dial 911 and the police, which we did, and we'll get to that in just a moment, we used Patriot Mobile to do so, and we were able to connect with 911 and the police after crimes were committed against us. Patriot Mobile kept us connected, and we often say that. We say that we go to far-reaching and sometimes dangerous places, and it's nice to know that our cell phone service works. Patriot Mobile did work for us. They also work for you. Maybe you're not in a dangerous place. Maybe you just don't want to fund the left, and that is what Patriot Mobile does. They make sure that they're free speech, conservative, Christian company that is, of course, carrying forward your message and your phone calls, and that is why we use them. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Benny. Join me. Make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Okay, so we haven't been online for a week. Nothing happened, right? Like, there was nothing going on. Actually, interestingly enough, our show made some news last week, as you can, well, see here, ladies and gentlemen. We were robbed on camera. All right, so did we deserve it, I guess is the question. Here's what happened. I am a fan of fast food. I try my hardest to keep in shape for my kids, for my family, to be a good example for young men. I try my hardest to, like, stay in shape. But the reality is, I love cereal. I love pizza. I love burgers. I love In-N-Out. In-N-Out is a place special in my heart. Maybe you've eaten at an In-N-Out burger. I know there's kind of a regional war. In-N-Out, Whataburger. Let me know in the comment section. Are you a Whataburger person? Are you an In-N-Out person? Or something else? Really? Like trip your trigger? Here in Tampa, we have a place called PDQ. Is that correct, Rolls-Royce? PDQ. It's like kind of a local, like, chicken place. Everywhere has these, like, little local places, right? But for me, I grew up actually in California. It was, I lived there till I was 7, and we would eat In-N-Out. There's an In-N-Out down the road from us. So we'd eat these burgers, and they have a special place in my heart. I saw a news article that the first In-N-Out ever closed down. And why? Because In-N-Out is a rapidly expanding, like, beloved fast food franchise. Why did this In-N-Out close down? We had to go see for ourselves. And we were going to go out to the Bay Area to go do a tour of X. We did do that to go do some other content, right? And that other content we will play for you in due time. It's in edits right now. Here's ALX and I at X. But we barely made it, actually, to this photo. ALX and I we were barely able to make it to X, because as soon as we landed, we went to that In-N-Out. The reason why that In-N-Out closed was because it had been robbed so many times. And what I mean by that is that everybody who sat inside of the In-N-Out line, which, if you're familiar with In-N-Out, it's a very long line, virtually all hours of the day. It is, again, a beloved regional franchise. And the line at the In-N-Out burger is always long. And people were going door to door, car to car, the robbers in Oakland and the people living inside of the collapsed, failed society of Oakland, where there is no police officers, there's restorative justice, defund the police, and the criminal's always right? There's prosecutors that allow criminals to go free at all times. These robbers went door to door, like literally breaking into vehicles while they waited in the drive-thru line. 1,000 different instances of robbers going door to door, breaking into vehicles. And so we had to go and see the first ever closed down In-N-Out and sort of use that boarded up building with this iconic facade and stucco, right? And, clay tiles on the roof, red clay tiles on the roof. You sort of use the iconic, like, haunted mansion, closed down, first ever In-N-Out as a metaphor for the collapse of California. Little did we know, as we were reciting the statistics of why In-N-Out closed down, little did we know that we would become the next statistic, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so here's the setup. We've now published our pieces. We'll play a little short snippet for you here. Here's the setup. Here's us going to the close down In-N-Out.
Somebody just broke in your house?
Yeah.
Wrestled this bag for this.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I'm here at In-N-Out Burger, one of my favorite fast food chains, a beloved fast food chain in America. They are wildly popular. They are expanding rapidly throughout the country, except for in one location. Welcome to a historic historic location, the only In-N-Out Burger that's ever closed. A brand, In-N-Out Burger, that is so iconic, so beloved by its customer base, is the fastest expanding fast food brand in the world. This location that still has the iconic building, still has the iconic facade, but everything has been ripped off. The signs, the drive-through signs have been ripped out. The In-N-Out sign, gone. The windows boarded up. And the parking lot now chain linked off. In-N-Out Burger had to close down this location because there were over 1,000 robberies in the drive-through lane. One police report has a series of 2 suspects that were robbing people, going car to car, robbing people as they waited for their burgers in In-N-Out. Another police report had a homeless gang of fentanyl heads that just came marauding through and stealing people's food, robbing people inside of the building. That's why you can still see to this day security vehicles parked on the property, and you can see here that, of course, nobody is allowed in. This is all a result, of course, of the Marxist left-wing policies of California. In fact, these policies were endorsed by every leading representative in California. That would be restorative justice, that would be defund the police, and of course, that would be criminals always right, right? Customer isn't always right, criminals always right. And that's why you see this depressing living memorial to the shittiness of California progressive Democrats. So, as we were filming that, legitimately, as we were delivering those statistics, there is a smash. We have our vehicle that's left there. The rental car was left there. It was locked. Executive producer ALX was sitting in the car, so we had physical presence in the vehicle. I mean, I don't really know what else you could have done. I guess we could have jumped out, like it's a war zone. We could have jumped out of a helicopter, I suppose, and like had the helicopter do circles. I don't know what else we could have done. That's the next logical step. Was Oakland's so dangerous that you got to use like choppers like Vietnam to get in and out? I mean, we had somebody in the car, a smash, and before you know it, ALX was literally physically fighting off a robber. How long have we been here, Rolls Royce? How long have we been filming? Yeah, no. How long have we been filming? Like 5 minutes. Oh yeah. We had been filming for 5 minutes at this location before smash, and this happens. The police here in California have had their balls cut off and have no capacity to actually do any police work. And so people feel... What? In the middle of filming, we heard a loud smash. You guessed it, we were the next statistic. What's just happened? Is my backpack gone? Oh. Dude, are you serious? Luckily, we had ALX inside of the car, and ALX physically fought off the robbers by saying, "Give me the f***ing bag and get the f*** out of my car." Am I just broken? Serious? Yeah.
100% serious. Wrestled this bag from his arms.
Did you see the guy?
He had a black mask on and a hood. That's all I saw.
Oh my god.
They pulled up right there in a car. He got out of the back seat, smashed the window, tried to get this bag, wrestled it away, and then I said, "Get the f*** off." And then he ditched. ALX, we will always play your singer, okay? This is like the WWE. We're not going to bring you on without the entrance music. So, ALX, tell us about what happened in, we were in Oakland, but the general Bay Area. It's there in the footage, but like from a first-person perspective, because we were filming about 25 feet away. And what was it like inside the car? Yeah, so... Yeah, just like you said, you guys had been filming for about 5 minutes, and I was trying to keep an eye out because I was aware of, the situation. That's kind of why I was in the car, because, we knew this was an issue. We weren't going to leave bags in the car unattended. And like, I was like monitoring the parking lot as best as I could. And,
we've mentioned there was a police tower with a camera right next to it. There was security in the lot, and there were other people in the lot. There was someone parked right in front of us in the car. And all of a sudden, I just hear a smash, and I turn around very quickly, and I see this guy with a mask on, and he's trying to grab the nearest bag, which was Royce's bag. So I grabbed it. I grabbed it away from him. I told him to F off, as I mentioned in the video. And then he darted for the car that had pulled up and dropped him off, and they got out of there. So I read online that the average smash and grab takes about 3 seconds to complete, and they have it down to a science. So that's kind of, I think, why they got out of Dodge quick when I took the bag, is because their goal is to be as fast as possible, because they don't want people like taking down their plate or calling the police, even though you're going to be put on hold in Oakland. So that's kind of their goal, is to do as quick as possible.
Perhaps we haven't actually covered this enough, because some people are saying, "Oh, you're an idiot. How you're so stupid. Obviously, you're dumb." Guys, we were parked under a police pole, one of those police poles that have, I'm not sure if you can see it in this shot, but there's this police pole that have the monitors and all the cameras and the flashing cop lights. Like we're right next to a flashing police pole in the middle of the day. The In-N-Out Burger's already closed, and we had somebody in the car physically with the car locked. So again, without having an Apache helicopter bring us in via ropes, I really am not quite sure what else we could have done. If somebody wants to smash your car window and just do it so brazenly, I mean, it's like the Wild West, it's like a train robbery, then I guess if you have no fear of the cops or any repercussions, then I suppose, or if you're just this much criminality, then I guess you're just going to do it. Okay, so ALX is grabbing another feed. There, he's back. Okay, so ALX, you are obviously very, very close with Elon. We were there to tour X, and we did a tour of X, and we're gonna have that product up. But Elon Musk has responded quite a bit to this, and is just effectively saying that's just life and safety. Like, this is just life, right? Here's Elon Musk responding. Common experience. Like, this is how you're just forced to live. Like, that's just crazy to me.
And he's been pointing out that's the leftist leaders there just have accepted it as part of life there, unfortunately, and they're not doing much to actually solve the problem. And I think he posted last night at like 2 a.m., make crime illegal again. I think it was like after watching this video, honestly. But yeah, he's torn, because, he likes the fact that, in X's HQ, it's a nice building, it's a historic building. He has a couple companies based there, but then at the same time, he, wants the safety of himself and his employees, and he wants to get out of, the state, but he doesn't want to abandon it. He wants it to be saved, because he has history in that location in San Fran. So it's really, it's really sad to see it. But I think places like Oakland, there's not even an effort to even save it at this point. Like, we were driving through, and there's, abandoned buildings all over the place, tent cities, and their businesses are being forced out instead of, arresting these people. I was saying, if the police actually wanted to stop this, they could have undercover cops in that lot, and they could lock those people up, because it's like clockwork. We were there for 5 minutes, and it happened. The reporting is accurate that there's thousands of burglaries, and it happened within 5 minutes of being there. So it just shows that they're not enforcing the law, and these people are, being let back out on the streets.
Do we have that data? There it is. 55 cars. Okay, so in case you're prone to feel bad for us, you shouldn't. At the very least, we were able to drive our car back to Avis, which told us this happens 3 times a day. The guy laughed in our faces. So we come in, we just driven down the road. There's glass everywhere. As a relatively traumatic experience, because we don't want to lose any of our gear. We have a lot of equipment there. We did our best to be secure, park right under the police. And the guy at Avis laughs in our face and says, this happens 3 times a day on average, sometimes more. And look at this, 55 cars stolen in the last 48 hours in Oakland, California. This is when we were in Oakland. 55 cars stolen. At least we were able to, keep driving our vehicle. It didn't drive off with ALX, and ALX joins the Crips or the Bloods or whatever gang he would have been initiated into. I'm not sure. But ALX, like, at least we had our car. They didn't actually like drive off with our vehicle. This is Oakland. I mean, is there any way to like state?
I guess that
It's a
could have
failed
been the worst
society.
case scenario because, yeah, the thing is about that kind of car, and I often have this criticism. It's like the key only has to be in the car for you to drive it. So like, you know, so they could have just like broke in and started the car and drove off. But
Yeah,
that's why it's so dangerous. But yeah, and I mean, we had all of our stuff from the airport, so it's like I only have two hands. I could only guard 3 bags. We had everything else in the back. So I mean, again, I'm very glad that like they didn't actually get away with anything, but like, you know, it's just nuts that people actually live like that. I don't know who could live in a place like that.
we got we got stressed out like just being there for a couple days. And it's like a bad energy in that place. It's like a bad energy. You have your eyes over your shoulder. Like everything looks third world. I don't know if we have the footage from Oakland. We should totally load up that short that we did where it looked like, you should see what it looks like out the windows in Oakland. Like let's grab that. Robbie, go ahead and grab that while ALX is up. This wasn't our first time getting robbed actually in the Bay Area. Like Royce was no. I wanted the footage from outside of Oakland. What it looked like outside of the vehicle as we were driving, because you guys got to see this. I mean, it's hard to really process, but you got to see this. I mean, what it looks like outside of the vehicle. Danny's on. Danny, go ahead and grab that. It's like the footage as you're just driving through Oakland, and it like makes everything make sense. When you see what it looks like outside in Oakland, you're like, this is this place is third world. This isn't the first world. This isn't America. Rolls Royce was robbed in front of Nancy Pelosi's house. Rolls Royce, you want to tell people about your robbery? Because now every member of our team's been robbed. It's a rite of passage for our show. Every member of our team's been robbed.
So, okay, let me turn my mic on here.
Yeah.
So this was about, how long ago? Was this a year ago?
A year ago.
Almost exactly a year. We went to San Francisco, me and Benny, and we were filming the crime. I made a whole short about this. I've made videos about this. We filmed the crime in San Francisco, and we're parked outside of Nancy Pelosi's house talking about everything that she's done for San Francisco. Meanwhile, we're like across the street. We're not even far away from the car. Someone reaches in, steals my bag, and it's gone. Backpack gone. Secret Service is like within eyesight, like just not even
in front of the Secret Service.
In front of Secret Service, not even paying attention that a robbery, or just not caring, I guess, that a robbery is taking place across the street. Never got the bag back, but I still look around to see who's wearing my hoodie or wearing my backpack anytime I'm there. Although I don't want to be there ever again, but it's there somewhere. All my stuff is somewhere with someone. So
we will never. I'll probably need to like hire a paramilitary force like for us to go back to San Francisco. I'll never go back to San Francisco. We're not going back to San Francisco. I'll need to again like I'll hire mercenaries for us to go back. I'm done being robbed in San Francisco. Do we have this? Let's load the short, and ladies and gentlemen, to send off ALX, we've actually created a important meme of ALX and what it looked like, the best that we could, what it looked like when ALX was fighting off the literal highway robbers, train robbers of California. We're getting that loaded up right now. ALX, final thoughts on San Francisco?
The only reason I'd ever go back there is XHQ. But I don't see myself going back to Oakland or, parking in any lots anytime soon. So I think it's going to be Uber from here on out.
Even XHQ was pretty rough. Like not inside, but outside.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It like getting into we had to like fight through like bum fires, just to get into the parking lot. Like had to like swerve and dodge like homeless camps just to get into the parking lot. And the X headquarters is like one of the nicest buildings in San Francisco, in one of the nicest parts of San Francisco. So that'll tell you everything you need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, our show. We're going to do our very best to tell a narrative, to tell you the story as it happened. And that is why Jerry has worked day and night. in order to make sure that we had a official rendering, because we don't have any footage of ALX fighting off the burglars, but we have been able to recreate it here. And so, ALX, thank you for your service.
Hold on. Just came out of the dry cleaners.
Stop moving or I will shoot you.
Why don't you f*** off?
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, that's really good. All right, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we survived California just barely. In and out. I see a lot of people commenting about what they see. A lot of people commenting. Carl's Jr., some Burger Kings in there, some McDonald's in there. Mad respect. Fast food is a great American invention. Just don't eat too much of it, and definitely don't eat it in Oakland. You'll get robbed. Makes me very sad because In-N-Out is a great Christian conservative company. They have Bible verses on the insides of their cups and on the bottoms of their bags for their burgers. They're an awesome company. If you've never checked them out, you should. They're not paying me to say this. I'm saying it because I love the place. Like, it's very sad to see. And In-N-Out couldn't survive the woke policies of leftists in California, and those policies are heading to your state. Be careful. That is why we fight. That is why we do what we do on this program, to stop, well, your neighborhood, our neighborhoods from looking like this. It's important to see that this is happening in our country. This is what Oakland looked like, by the way. Thank you for this. This is driving down the street. We didn't, ALX and Royce were just on. I didn't say take me to the worst possible part of town. We were getting back on the interstate from the In-N-Out. We were just driving through what is a normal on-ramp. We didn't go searching for like the Nethers region. We didn't go searching for the worst part of Oakland. This is just as we were physically driving through town to get back onto the interstate. This is what it looked like. In collapse. A society in collapse. California is a society in collapse. And I don't know what's possible, how it's possible to save it. They're going to have to change their policies. They're going to have to change their perspective. And they're going to have to start electing people that will enforce the laws in the book and will value the criminal. And I think this is the final point. You're going to value someone, okay? In society, as an elected official, and this is gonna blend really, really nicely into our news of the day when it comes to Ukraine and Congress. If you're a politician, you're going to value someone. You're going to put value on some person, right? So let's take the streets of Oakland or a park, okay, or In-N-Out. Who is the most valuable person there? Is it the children, the little kids that wish to play on the park, or is it the junkie with their needles and their guns, their knives, and their crime? Society is going to place value on one of those people. You'll know if you're living in a place that promotes human flourishing if the cops move the bums and the criminals out of the park and let the children play. The park is going to be for someone else. The streets are going to be for either law-abiding citizens and their children and their family units, or they're going to be for criminals. It's one or the other. It's not both. One or the other. And so the society, but what we just came from, is a society that places all of the emphasis and the priority on the criminal. And so they shut down the place where people want to eat. They shut down the burger joint. They make the streets unsafe. You can't walk on the streets. Syringes, drugs, crime. The parks, of course, you would never allow your children to play in any park in Oakland. They've made a decision to promote and to value the junkies and the criminals instead of the law-abiding citizens and their children and the family units. So that's the question when it comes to where you want to live. Where is it that you wish to live? You should live in a place that the junkies and the criminals get locked up, removed from the parks immediately, and the children are allowed to play peacefully and safely. Those are the kind of places you should raise your family. Those are the kind of places you should live. If you live in a place that's the opposite, get out. Get out right? We couldn't get the hell out of San Francisco fast enough, man. And you feel sick after being in a place like that. You did actually like physically feel sick. There's like a spiritual sickness, also like it's physically filthy, right? A place like that, trash everywhere, bums everywhere. It is why I am glad to be a subscriber to the Wellness Company. The Wellness Company is our emergency ready kit for anything. And that means anything. There's these little like bubbling up news stories about the next H1N1 virus or the next big outbreak. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. You should be ready with the Wellness Company. They have emergency kits that contain life-saving medications, a guidebook, an aid for safe use of these medications. Rest assured knowing that you have all the emergency antibiotic, antivirals, antiparasitics on hand for you and your family, no matter what gets thrown at us next. In order to order, go to twc.health/Benny. That's twc.health/Benny and enter the code Benny for 10% off. Again, that's twc.health/Benny, promo code Benny for 10% off. I'm very happy I had that after leaving San Francisco. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we move on to the big story of last week, which is Donald Trump's court case in New York. Ooh, baby. And what they plan on doing to the president. Now, is this going to harm Donald Trump? Well, we'll see. What we mean by that is this obviously is not harming Donald Trump in the polls, but they have the potential here to possibly strip Donald Trump of all of his Secret Service, and we'll cover that in just a second. Opening arguments happening right now. First witnesses will testify in Donald Trump hush money trial. Identified National Enquirer publisher David Pecker testifying on Monday. Again, they are criminalizing something that is common practice for celebrities. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. I don't like the nuisance lawsuit thing. Pay me to go away. I'm a scumbag. You looked at me wrong. One time, Tom Cruise got out of his car once, looked at me wrong. That hurt my feelings. Now I'm going to sue him. Find a scumbag lawyer. That's what this was. It was a nuisance lawsuit. Celebrities deal with them all of the time. I'm not saying, like, Stormy Daniels signed a letter saying that none of this ever happened. But either way, this is a misdemeanor. So they're charging a misdemeanor that has already run the statute of limitations. So they're having to bootstrap a felony under the misdemeanor that the DOJ has already turned down. The FEC has already turned down. They're the ones who are supposed to enforce these things. The district attorney before Alvin Bragg was supposed to turn down. They got someone dumb enough and Soros connected enough to actually bring this thing. They haven't told us what the underlying crime is. They have no right to actually bring these charges against Trump, but get Trump at all costs, right? And get the judge and his family rich. We have live shots of outside of the courthouse. There's been some major dramas here in the courthouse. Again, we would love to be able to bring you inside of the courtroom. We did this. We had a wall-to-wall 24-hour special with Big Fanny because we were able to bring you shots inside of the courtroom, but unfortunately we cannot in this scenario because they are not available. We simply have the live shot of the courtroom. Donald Trump will be getting out of court at noon. And so presumably maybe speaking to the cameras, of course, our producers are online. If Donald Trump comes up and talks to the cameras, we will cut back. Donald Trump has been making some very dramatic campaign stops. Donald Trump has been making some very dramatic commentary outside of the court, and also man set himself on fire outside of the court on Friday. Crazy guy. We can't play you the footage because it's like shocking, but a leftist, anti-fascist, clearly mentally ill person lit themselves on fire outside of the court. So get ready for the insanity. Donald Trump's statement from the court, ladies and gentlemen, moments ago. Let's go.
Thank you very much. I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country. Second of all, we have another trial going on right now. That's Letitia James. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump. I'm going to get Trump and it has to do with a bond of $175 million. First of all, she doesn't want me to participate with financial companies in New York, so we have a company, I guess, based in California. It's a bonding company, and I put up $175 million in cash, but she says the bonding company's not good. She doesn't like the bonding company because she doesn't know if the collateral is good, and I put up $175 million in cash, and she's questioning the bonding company. Well, when you put up cash, and the number is 175, which is what we're supposed to be putting up, but I give it in cash, she shouldn't be complaining about the bonding company. The bonding company would be good for it because I put up the money. And I have plenty of money to put up, but nobody is going to be putting up with this. Nobody is going to be listening or coming to New York anymore. Businesses are going to be fleeing because people are treated so badly. It's got to be the most unfriendly place to do business, and that's why businesses are leaving and people are leaving as migrants come in and take over our parks and our schools and everything else. So on the Letitia James case, she's the worst attorney general in the country, by the way. On Letitia, and she keeps a lot of business out of New York, and businesses that are here are leaving, and that means jobs and a lot of revenue. Somebody's going to step in, the governor, somebody has to step in and do something because your businesses are fleeing. But on Letitia James, the money was put up, it's $175 million, and I don't think she's complaining about me for the first time ever. She's complaining about the company, but why would she be doing that when I put up the money? So I just want you to know that that's taking place in front of an extremely crazed judge who's the most overturned judge in New York State. He was overturned 4 or 5 times on that case alone. That's, you know who it is. I don't have to mention names. I want to be nice. I want to be very nice. But a thing like that, and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
So Donald Trump going in, this is really something special. They've already threatened to jail Donald Trump. Trump says, put me in jail for breaking the gag order. Donald Trump's not allowed to talk about the judge or his corrupt family, so we proudly will. The judge's family are Democrat super donors and super activists. His daughter personally makes, well, at the very, based on the books and based on available financial evidence, millions, tens of millions of dollars. Her firm makes hundreds of millions of dollars campaigning to put Donald Trump in prison. So you wonder if there's any incentive structure there. Well, there it is. There's never been a greater case for recusal of a judge, a more compromised judge, but nonetheless, the judge is compromised, and so is the jury pool. Here's the jury pool. This is an article from the Daily Mail. Who makes up the jury pool? Now, we've already had the drama of last week was we already had multiple jurors drop off. So the jurors were selected, and then they come to the court. This has happened at least 2, potentially 3 times. They go to the court, and they're like, actually, I can't be impartial here. There's no way. I hate Donald Trump too much. And so they drop out of the court. I mean, what do you expect when you fill a jury with people who live on Manhattan Island, which is the highest population density of Democrats in the country? You can see here, they weren't allowed to ask who they vote for. They weren't allowed to ask who they want to vote for in 2012. I'm sorry, in 2020, 2016, or 2024. They weren't asked about political activism. As Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, told us on the program, you could have people who work for Joe Biden, people who literally are campaign workers for Biden, could be on this jury pool. And so it's unbelievably biased towards the president. Obviously, the judge is biased towards the president and has a financial incentive. It should never be allowed. And you can see some of the people here. Female, lives in Upper Manhattan. Project development manager calls Trump selfish. Oh boy. Physical therapist, married with no children, Upper East Side female. People who watches CNBC and BBC regularly. People who read, a lawyer who reads the New York Times, but Greg Jarrett, one of our favorites, saying that potentially having lawyers on the jury might be a good thing for Donald Trump. Let's have a listen.
Are you concerned about the attorneys being on the jury?
No, actually, I mean, I normally am. When I tried cases, I would always boot a lawyer off of the jury because I always worried that, attorneys have a tendency to be authoritarian, to commandeer a jury and impose their will on that jury, and you never know how that's going to work out. But here, I think that might extend to the benefit of the defense, because lawyers, more than anybody else, would see through this charade of a case brought by Alvin Bragg. They'll focus squarely on the facts and try to decide, do those facts meet the law? And if they do that, then the answer is no, and the verdict would be an acquittal. So this may benefit Donald Trump.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a piece of breaking news out of New York and out of another Trump trial. Here we go, baby. So, apparently, the appeals court has upheld the $175 million bond. Letitia James, anti-Trump monster, who is just such a vicious, evil, corrupt woman. She was suing in order to get Donald Trump to pay the $500 million bond. That was, of course, seen as egregious. And now the court has upheld the lower bond. Here's that breaking news.
All right, so here's the breaking news. And the former federal prosecutor Cherkasky and I were just talking about this. And he said this was not going to hold up. He said Trump's going to be fine. So the court has just ruled that the bond, that $175 million bond that Trump put up, will stand, despite the fight that the woman on the right, Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, was trying to slide in. And what did Cherkasky call it? He called it, she was trying to play a legal technicality, saying that the insurance company that Trump was using wasn't going to have the resources to back up that bond should he fail an appeal. Well, the court says the bond can stay. $175 million needs to be in cash, not mutual funds or securities where value can fluctuate. Knight Insurance cannot trade or move the money, but they will have control of the account and will provide a monthly financial statement to the Attorney General showing $175 million in cash.
So this is a victory for Donald Trump. Obviously, the $175 million for a bond is outrageous, but not as outrageous as the $500 million for a bond that was meant to effectively bankrupt Trump and totally tie up his capacity to operate financially. Trump's lawyer, moving on, talking about what the opening statements are going to be. Trump's attorney here in the ongoing trial, again, Donald Trump in court right now as we speak, Will Scharf, talking about what their opening argument is going to be to the court and the far left-wing jury.
Here. Opening statements set to begin this week. Before we get into particulars, set the scene. What's the strategy? What is the Trump defense going to look like?
Yeah, look, while the prosecution and the media are hell-bent on sensationalizing this case, we're focusing on the facts, because the facts show that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. This is a business records case. Those business records accurately reflected payments to one of President Trump's lawyers as legal retainer fees. Additionally, those records weren't actually entered by President Trump. He was busy running the country from the White House while all this was happening in Trump Tower in New York. We believe the facts are absolutely on our side, that they're absolutely exonerative of the president. And as long as the jury focuses on the facts, as long as the jury can see through all the media coverage and all the sensationalism and focus on the actual facts at issue in this case, we believe we have a winning case. And that's what you're going to see play out in court tomorrow with opening arguments.
Hey, Will. So obviously the Trump team is going to come correct here, and we hope that this insane case falls to pieces, particularly based on the fact that it is predicated on a star witness who is a known perjurer and liar. Michael Cohen is somebody who has already been found guilty of lying to the court, perjured himself. This guy doesn't have any gag order on him. He has lied before, and we expect that he will lie again here. Matthew Whitaker, somebody who was the acting attorney general for Donald Trump, explaining that this is not the witness you are looking for here.
You know, what I know is that First of all, Michael Cohen made this transaction with Stormy Daniels, and it was a typical non-disclosure agreement. It's a little unclear from what we know right now, whether the president knew or didn't know. But I will tell you, Michael Cohen has said publicly, and it's filed with, I think, the FEC, a statement that is going to be inconsistent with his upcoming testimony. And so the question that Michael Cohen's going to have to face is, you're a convicted perjurer, a convicted liar. Are you lying now, or were you lying then? I mean, really, the government's whole case falls apart. And in the meantime, you have a judge that should have recused, has a massive conflict with his daughter's outside work. And I think this whole case ultimately is going to crumble because it's just doesn't work under the law, and especially under the facts.
Donald Trump has one superpower, of course, and that superpower is that he has been a celebrity for the better part of the last 50 years. Donald Trump knows how to work a room. Donald Trump knows how to work these kind of news stories. This is not the first time that Donald Trump's been on the gun or faced legal issues, especially in the state of New York. Donald Trump knows that the people of New York actually have his back. The working class people do. Donald Trump hit the streets of Harlem. This was a monster story last week, and it's worth touching on. Donald Trump is using this to his advantage and going and campaigning on the streets. Here's how the streets of Harlem, one of the most Democrat boroughs in America, welcomed Donald Trump last week for a campaign stop.
We will work with the mayor. We will work with the governor. We bring in a lot of money.
Donald Trump gives people hope. Joe Biden makes people depressed. We've said that again and again and again. We have this clip, and we talked about it last week, of Donald Trump going into Chick-fil-A, also in Fulton County, also in a place where Donald Trump is being prosecuted. Donald Trump's mugshot hangs in my studio. That was a mugshot taken not too far from this location. Donald Trump bringing joy and delight to the young workers here at Chick-fil-A, these hourly workers that were smiling and laughing. And then Donald Trump walks into the dining room at Chick-fil-A, brings people a bunch of milkshakes, takes photos with people, gets cheered by some of the patrons. Some of them are quite literally toothless and potentially homeless, and they're cheering for Donald Trump. This man brings people hope, and he does so inside of Democrat districts. Again, the superpower of Donald Trump. He knows what it's like to build people up. He knows what it's like to make people feel special when you meet him. I've seen him do it. We've been behind the scenes with Donald Trump a number of times on this program. It is remarkable. It is a superpower. Donald Trump enters the room and uplifts everything. Everything is uplifted. Donald Trump, if that is his superpower, it is literally the kryptonite to that is Joe Biden. When Joe Biden enters a room, everyone becomes more depressed and sadder and more miserable. And we can prove that. In fact, Joe Biden visiting gas stations. After this footage popped off, Joe Biden has decided he's going to go visit gas stations. So Donald Trump goes and visits a bodega and a Chick-fil-A, and Joe Biden says, okay, well, I can do you one better. I'm going to go visit a gas station in my hometown, in my home state of Pennsylvania, right? Hometown Joe, Scranton Scrapper Joe. Joe Biden goes and visits a Sheetz and a Wawa in his hometown, in his home state of Pennsylvania, and see if you could spot the difference in the receptions here.
Hey. Hello, sir. How are you doing today? Good. How are you doing, man? And how are you doing today? It's a pleasure to meet both of you. You got myself, huh? And this is for you, sir. All right. And this is a tip for you. I know it's all been paid. Thank you so much. Do you mind? We have milkshakes. We have refreshers. How about a milkshake? Black and white. A black and white milkshake? We could perfectly make that for you, sir.
Producer ALX is like, who calls it a black and white milkshake? What is that? What is that even? It's a black and white cookie. Oh, black and white milkshake. Joe Biden being a segregationist once more, ladies and gentlemen. It's a thing he's done in the past. Don't tell Corn Pop. Yeah. I don't think anyone would cheer for what Joe Biden did to Corn Pop. Just a reminder that Joe Biden didn't like a young black man at the pool because he had too much pomade in his hair, and so Joe Biden tried to kill him with a chain and a rusty razor blade. That's the Corn Pop story. This is the Corn Pop story, okay? Take it or leave it. But this is the story that Joe Biden tells, and all of their best friends reinforce that story, including a guy named Mouse, okay? We found the footage. It's a real story. This is the Corn Pop story, the Joe Biden origin story. But a reminder that, you know, maybe Corn Pop's not cheering for Joe Biden. No, nobody's cheering for Joe Biden. People don't even stand up. You see those clips? People don't even stand up at attention when Joe Biden walks into the room. Joe Biden walks into the room in the gas station, and the people just stay sitting down. I busted up my knee this weekend, so I'm sitting for the show right now. I like doing the show standing, but we're sitting today. And I'd remain sitting if Joe Biden walked in. Joe Biden brings depression upon people, and sadness doesn't inspire anyone, doesn't inspire anybody to think differently, hope differently, achieve anything. He is a miserable and depressing person. And that is played out, obviously, in little clips like that, where nobody's cheering for Joe Biden, nobody's standing up to meet him, but also is played out in the data, in the polling. And even CNN is starting to recognize that, wait a second, Joe Biden is not only the least popular president in American history, that Donald Trump is starting to look really good in relation. This is a real broadcast from CNN. It is our Salt That Lib of the day. Stay salty. Keep your sodium levels up. The salt must flow. Salty CNN. Let's go.
This is viewed favorably across Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. In the 2020 exit polls, what do we see? 50% of voters view Joe Biden on average favorably in those states, compared to just 45% for Donald Trump. Look at the Joe Biden trend line where he is now. Joe Biden is far less liked than he was 4 years ago. Just 43% of voters now view Joe Biden favorably in these states. And Donald Trump, despite everything that has happened, is actually slightly more liked. 47% favorable rating. So this isn't just a lesser of two evils that's going on. The fact is that Donald Trump is, in fact, better liked than he was 4 years ago, and is better liked than Joe Biden is right now in these battleground states. It's pretty gosh darn clear.
Imagine what's happening in the control room when the guys on screen at CNN are like, Donald Trump's way better liked than Joe Biden, better liked than he was 4 years ago. After everything they have done to destroy this man. Like, imagine the screaming, the rage, the coffee that's being spilled on $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 worth of equipment in the CNN control room. The screaming, the wailing, the gnashing of teeth, the salt. Ooh, I would love to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, I really don't love to see what happened in our House of Representatives as Republicans sided with Democrats to spend another $61 billion on foreign wars. These wars are obviously evil and should be illegal, and we shouldn't have any part in them. And all war is evil, and the more you understand the nature of war and the nature of how Washington, D.C. works, you realize all of this is just a bailout for Joe Biden's friends and Mitch McConnell's friends. And we've been backstabbed yet again, ladies and gentlemen. But you don't even need to understand that. All you have to do is look at the flags that are being waved in the well of the United States Capitol building. Those flags aren't American flags. It should be illegal to wave any other flag that's not an American flag inside of the floor of the House. But here we are. Welcome to the United States of Ukraine. it's not even that. It's not even the flag waving. It's the members of Congress legitimately saying that Ukraine is our 51st state. I kid you not. You have members of Congress. This is how depraved and sunken these people are. This guy named Gerald Connolly, who's a crazy old coot. I can't remember what state he's from. Potentially California. Saying, no, Ukraine's border is our border. Well, I mean, if Ukraine's border is our border, then Russia would be in France by now. But no, Ukraine's border is our border, and we have some type of solemn right to defend it. This is the way these people think. Watch.
Some say, well, we have to deal with our border first. The Ukrainian-Russian border is our border. It's the border between depraved autocracy and freedom-loving people seeking our democratic way of life.
If the Ukraine border was our border, then it should be open. And every Russian and every person from China and every terrorist cell on earth should be able to pour across and get citizenship in Ukraine, including the Russian army. I mean, what kind? I don't think you're making the point that you think you're making here, young man from the D.C. suburbs, because of course. So Gerald Connolly is effectively from the D.C. suburbs in Virginia. Got it. This is why he speaks like that. This is why they passed another backstab of Republicans. So now we've been stabbed in the back multiple times by Mike Johnson. So I disavow Mike Johnson. I am embarrassed that I ever had any hope. I'm sorry. I'm not a doomer on this program. I'm sorry that we said maybe good things will happen with Mike Johnson. We looked at the resume. We had multiple members of Congress coming on this show. Mike Johnson didn't come on this show. Maybe that should have been the warning sign. We had multiple members of Congress coming on the show telling us he was rock solid, telling us he was good. People from the Freedom Caucus, people from the Republican Study Committee, some of our best friends coming on here, being yo, we're good. Producer Robbie saying that we've invited him 10 times to come on the program. I really hope he says yes. I have some big questions I'd like to ask him. Here we go. Here's the top of the list. Why do you spend more money than Pelosi when you promised you would stop spending? Why did you personally vote to authorize FISA 702, which eviscerates multiple amendments, but especially the Fourth Amendment in America? And why did you pass funding for other nations' borders and not ours? Taiwan, Israel, and Ukraine got border funding, and we got nothing. America got nothing. You can close the border. You didn't draw a hard line. You did nothing. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's going to move ahead on a motion to vacate, and presumably Mike Johnson will be saved by Democrats, because Mike Johnson of Louisiana, the Republican speaker, is now indistinguishable from a Democrat. In fact, you could argue that he's worse because he's passing bigger budgets than Nancy Pelosi. He's doing more damage than the Democrats. Marjorie, take it away.
Mike Johnson has betrayed America. He's betrayed Republican voters. Under his leadership, he's passed the Democrat agenda, passed the Biden administration's policies, and fully funded them. We're going to fight in Congress to do everything we can to stop this type of uniparty leadership. Mike Johnson's speakership is over. He needs to do the right thing to resign and allow us to move forward in a controlled process. Yeah. If he doesn't do so, he will be vacated.
Well, with all due respect, you didn't give me a plan for the speaker's role. And again, does this mean you are going to file that motion at some point?
It's coming regardless of what Mike Johnson decides to do. And we have 3 more Republicans joining us from special elections coming up very soon. So people need to know this can happen.
Rolls Royce is laughing in the studio saying we need play them out music. Maybe we should get some nice guitar strumming, okay? And so for our guests, we could play them out. What do we got? We got some synth? Yeah, good. Okay. Great. Oh, this is good. We'll just start playing this. This is when you know. We'll play you off, ladies and gentlemen. So Congress is spending untold billions, not on America, of course, on other corrupt nations. All of it will be embezzled. All of it will deteriorate and depreciate the value of your dollar. Now is the time to invest in gold. I've been telling you this for years. And if you'd listened to me, well, have you seen the price of gold? Have you seen the gold markets? They've gone up 80-fold.
Like the God's screw to the roof. I don't have a crystal ball. I am just, our superpower on this program is we follow trends. We're alive, we watch trends, and we follow them, and this was the trend, okay? So gold is going through the roof. Ladies and gentlemen, invest with my friends at Allegiance Gold. Go to protectwithbenny.com today or call 844-66-BENNY right now. Get $5,000 of free silver with a qualifying purchase. Protect with Benny today. My friends at Allegiance Gold will take care of you. I mean, everything is sort of collapsing right now. 401ks, the housing market in certain places. Like, have you been paying attention to the Federal Reserve notes? They're not going to be changing interest rates. Like, we are doomed for quite a while. Now is the time to invest in something real and solid and protect your future. Protectwithbenny.com today. My buddies at Allegiance Gold will take care of you. So somebody who took care of Joe Biden for a while, and we say that with all due love and respect, somebody who worked for Joe Biden personally on his staff while Joe Biden was vice president, somebody who traveled with Joe Biden to Ukraine, of all places, and maybe could give a little insight into what this Ukraine funding is all about. The great Mike McCormick joins the show now. Mike, thank you so much for being on the program. I appreciate your patience. We had some breaking news. This Trump trial's crazy, and if Donald Trump starts speaking, then maybe we'll cut to him. But either way, you have a new book out, The Case to Impeach Joe Biden, and nobody would know better this case than you, sir.
That's right. Joe Biden's a criminal. He's an evildoer. And the book is doing really well on Amazon. So I appreciate it. And the higher it goes, I've got the truth in there about Joe Biden's criminal activities in Ukraine and his involvement with the cartels on the southern border. And then why I can't testify about it in front of the Government Oversight Committee. So very, very interesting book. And it's catching a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, we really hope that everybody goes out and purchases this book. Mike has been one of these truly brave people that have come out and spoke about your time with Joe Biden and personally, and I'm sure the book it has this wall to wall, your personal revelations after working for Joe Biden for years in as close of a position as you can be. You were the stenographer, right? So you were writing down everything that was happening in front of the cameras, behind the cameras.
That's right. And what makes the book so powerful is that I also have access to the Hunter Biden laptop. So I can go through the schedule that I know Joe had because I was there with them, and then go into the Hunter Biden laptop, see the email traffic, and see the crimes that are committed. The evidence I have, they can't put me in front of the Oversight Committee to testify under oath because that would ruin their inability to have a final decision made. I mean, it's strange. It's very strange. But the evidence is in my book. People read it and they're like, wow, this is amazing.
Could you illuminate for us what this Ukraine funding is all about? Because it does seem to us, at the very least, from our observational point, we've never been on the inside like you, but it seems like Donald Trump just threatening to stop funding Ukraine. Donald Trump got impeached.
Yeah.
Donald Trump just threatening to look into what Joe Biden was doing and what the deep state and what the CIA was doing in Ukraine led to his impeachment. That was such a overreaction, or maybe not, based on what was really going on in Ukraine. So what's really going on in Ukraine, Mike?
That's a great question. So there's a very prominent story out of Ukraine. Joe Biden had a kickback scheme with Burisma, and he ran that starting in April 2014 with Hunter. And I have all the evidence necessary to impeach him in my book. Pardon me. But the other thing that I found, and I didn't put this in the book, is Joe Biden had a second kickback scheme with Hunter and his Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners Group that worked with a company called Metabiota. Metabiota at the time was meeting with Hunter, meeting with Joe. Hunter was a partner in this Rosemont Seneca Technology Group. He met with Metabiota people just before he met with Joe in the White House on April 16, 2014. And then Joe goes to Ukraine. Well, Metabiota became the center of, it's a bio warfare technology company. It's a biotech company from Silicon Valley. They were in charge of, their specialty was predicting pandemics. So going back to 2013, the December 2013 trip with Joe Biden when he went to Beijing, China, I was on that trip. Hunter was on that trip. As soon as they come back from that trip, Hunter's Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners starts investing heavily in Metabiota, like all of a sudden. 2 months later, Metabiota gets their biggest contract to do biowarfare research, help with that in the Republic of Georgia, right on the doorstep of Russia. Then they move into Ukraine with Joe. By the September of 2014, there's email traffic where the Metabiota's company, the leader of it is a guy named Nathan Wolf. He was a fan favorite of the World Economic Forum. There's an email on the Hunter Biden laptop of CIA operatives reaching out to him. There's a venture capital arm of the CIA is called InQtel. So he gets in touch with these Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners guys and says, hey, InQtel is in touch with me. What do you know about them? And then from there, they start working with InQtel. Eventually, InQtel becomes an investor in Metabiota in 2017, after Trump comes in. That's under Mike Pompeo. Metabiota was part of the research that went into bat viruses in 2013. So when Joe Biden is meeting with Xi Jinping, and I was on that trip, a very long, suspicious meeting. He was supposed to meet for an hour. He basically hijacked the meeting and took it to 4 hours. And then there's documents I read in the White House where he did a briefing and he did a speech and he said, hey, I'm sorry I took your president away from you, but I had to talk to him personally. So it was just Joe and Xi Jinping. What did they talk about? And then out of that comes this decision by Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners to invest in Metabiota. By after the InQtel email comes out in September 2014, that's the same time that the U.S. puts the freeze on gain of function research. It also is the same time that Joe Biden's prime operative, Ron Klain, gets named as the Ebola czar. Ebola was raging in Africa right then. And what was Metabiota doing before Ebola raged in Africa? They were running around in Southeast Asia collecting Ebola samples and in Africa. It's a very suspicious timeline. By November of 2014, Metabiota is meeting in the White House, and the Obama-Biden White House is talking with China, and they set up a informal research alliance for infectious diseases. There was a trip that Obama took to Beijing in 2014 November. I was on that trip. So they say this is where the money went from the U.S. to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to do this research that became the Wuhan virus. Yes. Metabiota was at the heart of this the whole time. And Joe Biden's son was an investor in it. And Joe Biden is the unnamed guy, I think, who was helping Metabiota land these government contracts all throughout this process.
So the New York, wow, Mike McCormick's crazy. He's saying the CIA is working with the Bidens in Ukraine. Guys, the New York Times has published it. They're bragging about how much the CIA is operating out of Ukraine and how they've been operating out of Ukraine for a very long time. There's all of this has been backed up. We have the articles, we have the information, we have the evidence. And so the question, I guess, to you, Mike, is since you've traveled with Joe Biden to Ukraine, is that correct? You've traveled on the plane with Joe Biden to Ukraine. So
right.
You're such a rarefied person because so few people actually have been able to do that. How much of this war in Ukraine that has, of course, disgusted our audience that we're funding yet another forever war here with American tax dollars, how much of this war in Ukraine is to protect the American intel interests, to protect some of these schemes, some of these dirty operations and dirty deals from being discovered from by the world, right? Right. As the country descends into chaos, people start selling information, start selling data, start selling things. They have exculpatory information that could really hurt powerful people. If a country descends into chaos, well, then the gloves are off, right?
That's right. Yeah, and so Victoria Nuland came out, I don't know, a couple of years ago and admitted, yes, we have bio-research laboratories in Ukraine. Well, that's what Metabiota was supposed to do. They were paid to do that. And they don't want people to understand really what was going on there or in the Republic of Georgia. And that's what this war is about. The war is also about energy. The Burisma aspect of it is very important. Putin's going to wind up with the shale gas, natural gas deposits that Ukraine has, and he's going to hold that over Europe for the next 30, 40 years. And we basically set that up because of Joe Biden's corruption with Burisma. As soon as Putin saw what Joe Biden was doing, he's like, you know what? I'm going to go right in behind these guys and take over this thing. He invaded in 2014 as Joe was going in and out of Ukraine. And then he reinvaded once Joe came into the White House. As long as Trump was in there, there was no forward progress with Russia and Ukraine.
So what's the fix here? Because it seems like the fix is what Donald Trump was heading towards, right? Which was, you should investigate these people. Like, somebody should investigate these people. Victor Shokin has gone on Fox News and said, Joe Biden got me fired because I was looking into the corruption of his family. And if you have any hope, and I'm not trying to blackpill here, but the more you see that the Bidens are effectively cutouts for the CIA and the intel agencies, the less hope I have that any of them will ever be prosecuted meaningfully. I mean, it seems like the only way to fix something like this is sunlight as the best disinfectant.
Sunlight is the only way, and I went into the oversight committee a year ago. I came out and I talked to them about what happened with Burisma, but I talked to them about what was happening with Metabiota. And in their interviews of Hunter Biden, Rob Walker, who was also on the Rosemont Senate Technology Partners Group, they never investigated. They don't even want to mention Metabiota. They talk about the, funny money transfers. They talk about Burisma. They talk about what Joe did with Burisma because that's an impeachable offense. But this Metabiota stuff is dark and dirty, and it's very serious. It goes all the way into the Wuhan Institute of Technology and that virus, the pandemic, the fake pandemic. And that's the CIA, in my opinion, was behind it. Avril Haines came into the White House in 2014 in November after they set up this research alliance with China, this, infectious disease. As Ron Klain was there, she was there. She's now the person who's in charge, and she stayed there with the NSC for 2 years. She was a senior. She came from the CIA into the NSC, worked with Obama closely as one of his top security aides, and she was there at the meetings in 2017 that happened in January, right before Donald Trump came in, where they reinstated gain of function. They said, oh, it's okay, we'll redo it. And the people that were in those meetings was Fauci, Klain, Avril Haines, and Avril Haines is now in charge of investigating what happened in Wuhan. And of course, she doesn't see anything wrong that happened in Wuhan. They can't really tell what happened in Wuhan. She's a person that has to be named. The CIA operative that's named in the laptop email is a woman named Tara O'Toole. Tara O'Toole has never been called in for investigation. These are the people that the sunlight needs to hit. Tara O'Toole, Avril Haines, Fauci, and Ron Klain.
Yeah, why did Dr. Fauci go to the CIA so many times off the books? It doesn't make any sense. And Dr. Fauci's funding, of course, comes from the intelligence agencies. You can track all that back to the Patriot Act. So it's not crazy to think this. Also, a clip that I cannot get out of my head, Mike, till my dying days, I will not be able to forget that Dr. Fauci, upon Donald Trump's inauguration, so it was a day before Donald Trump's inauguration, gives a speech and he says, this next administration is going to be a surprise pandemic. Guarantee it. He says it. It clips up. We've tweeted it a million times. How can you say something with such a surety? Like, how is that possible? It's so unbelievably suspicious. It's malevolent. It's so disorienting how evil these people are and what they're willing to do for power. And it's why I'm so glad that there are people who actually tell the truth. It's a dangerous thing to tell the truth these days. Mike McCormick is one of those people. Here's his book, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Amazon bestseller, The Case to Impeach and Imprison Joe Biden, from Joe Biden's former stenographer. Nobody would know better. Mike McCormick, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks for having me on and talk about all this dirty stuff. We got to get the sunlight on it.
Come back anytime, Mike. Oh, yes. Totally disorienting, completely depraved, totally, like, unbelievably evil. it is remarkable the more you look at like the origins of COVID and the incapacity of places like the CIA to do any investigation. Remember, the CIA still hasn't determined whether it came from the laboratory or not. What comes out from a whistleblower? That they're paying off the scientists to say it didn't come from a laboratory. People are getting bribed. People are getting paid off the CIA. Does that sound like people who are truth tellers? Is this an organization that should have untold black box budgets to interfere in our elections or elections abroad? I mean, what is the purpose of this place other than absolute and total evil? It is a time when evil abounds and is unfortunately on the literally physically confronting us on the streets, confronting us from power structures everywhere, and we wish for you to be safe. That is, ladies and gentlemen, why we are always happy to champion the Second Amendment, the number one thing protecting you from tyranny on this God's green earth and in this country. It's why firearms are always under attack by tyrants and why they've been taken by tyrants throughout history. And the only way to maintain your rights in this country is to practice them. And so we practice free speech. We practice protecting ourselves. This is our Monday Gun Day, brought to you by Spikes Tactical. Ooh, baby, alleged intruder dead after woman opens fire with 9mm protecting herself. In Beaver County, Pennsylvania, woman opened fire with a 9mm pistol at 5 a.m. Wednesday. Yikes. CBS News noted that a woman heard strange noises, armed herself with the pistol, went into her basement. She discovered an intruder who had broken into a basement window. She was by herself, and she protected herself. The district attorney said, if someone enters your home, they are making a conscious decision. They are there to steal from you or to hurt you. You have a right to protect yourself with deadly force. Thank God. These are the laws here in the state of Florida. This is why, of course, the Johnson family is strapped. Not my little kids. When they're of age, but we certainly are inside of the Johnson household. Got a nice big gun safe. That gun safe is stacked with Spikes Tactical AR-15s, the AR-15 of choice for the Johnson household. So don't come a knocking. You know what I mean? Right? If you want to stay walking. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support of our program, even though we were off the air technically last week. If you wish to support us, you can join the Benny Brigade. You can obviously get exclusive swag at the Benny Brigade. You can ask questions of our guests, get access to up-and-coming events, and support our independent journalism, and support ALX's Kung Fu lessons for our next trip to San Francisco. Our verse of the day from Hebrews 13:6. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Well, we saw what man can do to us, and we see every day what Satan can do to this great country, to, all things that are sort of built by man. Steal, kill, and destroy, right? What is the sign of Satan? The sign of Satan is people who are killing, stealing, and destroying, right? It's why we're against war. It's why we're against funding more war that are destroying nations and entire generations around the world. It's why it's disgusting that we're funding more war. And again, we're against that. Steal, kill, and destroy. Yeah, that can happen. Like, that can happen to you. But with the Lord as your helper, you have no fear. You can have absolutely no fear in this, right? You don't need to fear death. Christ has conquered death. You don't need to fear these powers of this world. They're evil. We do live in a sunken place, and that is why we need a savior, ladies and gentlemen. So, stand upright and confident with us. March forward into the week. Stay safe out there. If you're watching from Oakland, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Benny. See ya.